everybody. Oh my gosh, Bree. Oh, no, you're there. You disappeared for a second. I was like, what? You were here just before. Hello, everybody. It's lovely to see you. We're going to get started in about 30 seconds or so. We always like to start right on one. And we're going to walk through. Now, we've written this. We're going to chat. It may end up being a bit shorter than the hour 45, but obviously we'll make sure we've got some time for a Q&A at the end so that you can ask questions. So we can answer some questions during the session, but if you need to, we'll also leave a little bit of time to ask questions there. So it's lovely to see all of you along and see some familiar faces. So yes, we're going to just jump right on in and just a few. Oh, there we go. It's 1 o'clock. I like to start right on one, Bree.
There you go.
Yes, absolutely. So welcome, everybody. I would love it. I know I can recognize some faces. I'd love it if you could just tell us what you sell online so we can get a really good idea. Like we know, Sarah, that you sell beautiful, eco-friendly bee bombs and wax wraps and gorgeous skincare products. And Marlene, we know you sell the world's best lemonade. But if you guys could just, and Joe, I'm pretty sure, Joe, that's you, the amazing picture book lady. But if you just can write down what you sell in here, that would be awesome. Cool. Nice to see you, Vanessa. Awesome. Hey, good to see you, Lyndall. By the way, if I'm not saying hello to all of you, it's because there's some people I know that I haven't seen for a while. I'm not trying to be rude. Fantastic. Cool. So really the only one that I see, Tony, you might find that doesn't 100% suit you, obviously, because we're talking about products today, not services in terms of like retreats and things like that. It still will help. Kathleen, I have been eyeing up your blankets. You let me know if you get a yellow one. I'm looking for my daughter. Awesome. Look, lovely, big range of things. Same with you, Deirdre. So you won't find this actually will necessarily relate to you today, but you can still obviously learn because it's marketing. But for the majority of you, other than that, it definitely will. Hey, Kylie. It definitely will benefit through the day. So it's good to see you. So we're going to just jump right on in. These slides, by the way, we are just doing a slight rebrand with the way that we're presenting our things. So you're getting the benefit of those. So I'm really looking forward to it. Donna, that is a really amazing niche. Did you see that, Brie? It's an online store to sell pre-packaged DIY kits for working with asbestos.
Oh, interesting.
Very interesting. Okay, right. So, Rachel and Bree, who are we? Well, my name is Rachel. I own Identify, and I am a marketing trainer and coach, and I love particularly working with, well, I like working with any business that's a best kept secret. We always say that. People who've got really good businesses but just aren't great with working out how to tell people. I have 3 dogs. Only 2 of them are in the picture here. Spud on the right-hand side is my needy Staffy, and Millie is the licky one. Not so pleasant for the licking, seriously. Also have 3 children, one of them which works for me and the other which may work for me if she passes muster. We haven't decided yet. Thankfully, she's back at school, so she can't hear me say that about her. And a youngest who has definitely hit the 14 smart ass stage of her life. My husband and I work together in our business, and we have always we kept it really small. We had a big business and we made it small, but now we've been growing, and Bree is a new person to Identify, but not new to me. Marlene, that's crazy. 5 puppies. I don't know how you're doing that and running a business. So Bree is new to Identify, but not new to me. She is amazing, and she's going to run a part of this webinar mainly around the social space because she is super hot on that. And Bree, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Oh, well, thanks, everybody. My name is Bree. I am a Canadian living here in New Zealand. We moved here in 2017. I have twins who are 5 and a 7-year-old boy as well. And me and my husband and kids, we live in Kaikooi up north, way up north at the tip of New Zealand. And I'm a weirdo that loves social media. I feel a little bit like I'm on a dating show.
You are on a dating show, but dating with clients, not dating with a husband. It's not appropriate to be on a dating show while you are married, Bree. FYI.
FYI.
Also, I would hate to be dating these days. I got out just before Tinder became big.
Yes, yeah, we did.
And I'm so pleased.
Tinder. what we're reading.
All right, so we're going to get started and let's move forward. So the first thing when we come to working with e-commerce, and it's the same with every business, but it's especially for e-commerce, and I think it's one of the things that people often do really struggle with is understanding that absolutely everything you do is connected. I actually had a bit of a falling out with a client about a month ago because I did a strategy with him and he said, I want you to tell me one thing that I can do to improve my business and do my marketing. I just want to do one thing. And I was like, it doesn't work that way. I would love it if I said to you, cool, just put up a great website and you'll get lots of sales, or just do great social and you'll get lots of sales, or just do great Facebook ads or great SEO or whatever. And that's the one thing you need to do, but it just doesn't work that way. And so what we find is we work with businesses who don't have this idea that they've got to do a whole lot of stuff around a whole lot of different things, and that's why their sales aren't firing. And I want to tell you a story before we move forward. So we work with a whole wide range of people, and we've just recently changed our policy. And what that means is it's obviously not a written down policy, it's just a filtering policy for us. We get to work with a lot of e-commerce businesses because that's one of our specialities. And I love it. But we have found that we can't get the results that we need to get from a client unless a whole lot of basics have been done. And so one of the things that we have discovered from that is I've got 2 clients that we've worked with this year, just to give them a thing. Do you want to take the call, Bria? You good?
Just my dad.
I just said, oh, well, you need to take that.
No. He calls me every day.
My mum normally calls during a webinar too, guys. Actually, just make sure. Oh, look, I didn't have it off. Thank you for reminding me, Brie. But one of the things that we've worked with, we've got 2 clients that we worked with this year who sell almost the same type of products. And with one client, we switched on their Facebook ads, their dynamic product ads, which we're going to talk about a bit later, and we switched on their email marketing, and literally they made $20,000 extra in the first week. Like it was just like absolutely phenomenal and absolutely whew. We had someone else that we started around the same time, and she had also got a same sort of business but had not been doing a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about today. We have struggled to get maybe 1 or 2 sales from her using marketing automation and dynamic ads, because what that person doesn't understand, or starting to understand now, is we can only do so much. A lot of it is what happens on the website, what happens with your SEO, what happens with your Facebook and your Instagram and that social side. And that is the key. And it's not something that we can do for you. Like there are web developers who can do things, but especially with social, and Brie will agree with this, she's got a social media management company and she's amazing at that. But even, Brie, this is right, that even though you manage people's social media, you still get them to go and do their stories and stuff like that themselves.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And why is that?
Because people want to be connected with the person behind the brand. They want to engage in the story behind the brand, and have this authentic feeling of knowing who they're buying from. Yeah. So, I'm not the business owner, so I can't do the stories.
What we're going to talk about today is the things that you guys, some things, if you've got a budget, you can outsource things. And look, Brie, she works with us as a strategist, but we tell people to use her if they do have the budget for social media management. Same with a web developer. Like a web developer can create you an amazing website that's really functional, but there's things that you need to do as a business owner to maintain that website and really lift it up. Unless you've got millions of dollars to throw at getting content creators to come and do those things, you will have to do some of the stuff that we're talking in here. But the most important thing to understand is everything is connected. And I run a course called Map It, which is a free marketing strategy day. And there we go. Mel does web developing, so she'll be fine. But one of the things that we talk about in there is you've got to think like a spider and build a web. And you need to create a web of lots of different contact points that people can build trust with you over time. And sometimes it means that if you've got nearly everything right, people will still buy from you if there's a problem. But to make it better, it's just better if we work on all of it. Over the weekend, actually, I bought some art from someone who I have followed for ages and absolutely adore. And they're amazing. They're totally amazing. I think the world of them. But I sent her an email on the weekend and said, if I didn't love you so much, I would have pulled out, because it was the most horrific shopping experience. So it's just remembering, like, even if someone's really into you, if it's not a great experience at some point in the journey, it will impact the end. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. There we go. Ingrid does content creation. We've got like a whole bunch of people on here today, Bree. That's all the. All right.
Amazing.
So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at your website. So here's a bunch of stuff. Now, at the end of this session, I have got won't be straight after, guys. Just hold your horses on this. I know you get excited. And after this webinar is finished, around 2 hours later, you'll get an automated email from this webinar platform experience. Well, Marlene, I sent you a bit of a note saying that something was broken, which you've now fixed. Remember? So one of the things that I would recommend you do is, I've got this little checklist. It's a little 2-pager, which will go through these points as well. Yeah, pretty much, I think, Marlene. Okay, but we're going to just, you can ask those questions in another time. We're going to walk through this at the moment. Okay, so the sales checklist is something that you can have to walk through the points that we've done today and check off and go, let's just check that we've got everything else going on. So one of the things that you need to do is check your website first. Generally, you should have a conversion rate of around 1 to 3% of anyone that comes to your website. So every 100 people that come to your website, between 1 to 3 buying from you means it's a good e-commerce site. If it's higher than that, it normally means that you're doing a lot of organic social media marketing or other things, but you haven't added on the paid advertising, because generally that is the amount that you'd get. And you think about that, wow, I have to get 100 people to my website to get 1 to 3 sales. That's pretty hard work.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys are getting less than 100 people a day, that's partly why you may not be getting sales every day. Now, that is often on that first visit. So when we retarget to people, or we get people to come back, they're more likely to buy the next time. So it's a higher percentage at that stage. So we've got a client at the moment, their conversion rate is about 5%. When we started with them, it was around 9 to 10%, because all of it was organic. It's dropping over time because they're paying now, so they're getting new people coming on. But they're getting these people coming back again and again, which means they've got that great repeat buy, which means they're doing something right. So let's just have a little look at a website. So here's the first thing. Who has got information about themselves and has a really good personal about us page? Who tells people who they are? Sarah's got one. Tracy's got one. Yes, fantastic. So that's really important. I will go and buy, especially if it's a New Zealand-owned small business, I always go and check out the About Us page. It's so important because I want to feel like I'm connected to you. You've got to be nice. You've got to be friendly. You've got to be approachable. And it's got to have something about who you are and what you're doing. So it's really important to take a look at that. And a lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about in here, I want you to consider getting someone who doesn't know you well to come and have a look at it and tell you what they think. Like, get some straight shooters. And we've got our Map It group. And what I might do is, Brie, maybe we could do like a thread or something where we get people just to take a look at a website and get people to give feedback to it. I'm really happy to do that, guys, as long as you're not over promoting. There's a link to the thing, but we could actually do a little thing where we get people to actually do, we can do like a little check on About Us pages to start off with this week and just get people to have a wee look. So that's really important. It's obviously a great personable About Us page. The next thing is, and look, I am not the best at this myself, so I'm going to be really honest. Like, I was just showing something to Brie before we set up and realized I hadn't turned it on. So I'm not great at fine details, but you need to make sure everything works. And things break on websites all the time, so make sure that things are working. So the person that I messaged over the weekend when I bought this art I sent her like a little video showing her that it didn't have the shopping cart on the website. So when I went to add something and buy something, I couldn't then go to the shopping cart to find it and I had to log out, log back in again every time I wanted to add something else in, which was making me a little bit frustrated. So getting someone else to look at it with fresh eyes is really important. It's kind of like all my emails generally, like you're going to get one this afternoon, will have that checklist on it and other bits and pieces. And at the bottom, there's a little paragraph that says, oh my gosh, the humanity, you discovered a typo. Because the thing is, guys, I write my posts, my emails, and it's very unlikely that I'm going to get someone to check them for me, but just because of the time frequency. And we do actually have some that I've made, and then other people set them up and check them. But the bulk part are written by me, and you can't see your own typos until you press send. Am I right? That's normally
Totally.
you can't generally see them, So it's so important to understand that quite often there'll be a broken part on the website that you've just never looked at. We actually worked with a client, Brie. This is crazy. We worked with a client a couple of years ago who'd been paying. They were working with a website company that I'm not going to mention, but I consider them crooks. They're the only company I normally like I say nasty things about. And they had been paying like an extra $80 a week for a shopping cart functionality to the website for 2 years. So it's like a lot of money. And then when we went to do their website and check things and did an analysis, the link to the shopping cart was broken. So they'd been paying, and it had never been set up properly. So they'd been paying this money every week for this functionality that didn't even work because they just assumed it worked.
Yeah.
So it's really important. I know, Sarah, it was crazy. And so I think it's really important to make sure that you test things. Get a friend, pay them with wine if you need to, and get them to run through and test things because it would really help. So that's just around the everything works side. Okay, so let's just get to the next thing. I need the pictures to be really clear. Like, you make sure that the pictures are great. If you're showing clothes or other things or objects, try and show them from more than one angle so people can kind of get an idea. If you've got a small object, it's really good to get like a ruler. Like I've got this cool little pug ruler, so you can have something to scale so people can see it. We were buying plastic box containers, environmentally friendly plastic box containers, Sarah, over the weekend. And so that's Sarah Primrose, not Sarah Rahman. She'll be okay, but Sarah Primrose will have my guts for garters. But I was having to put my measuring tape out and measure everything because there was no scale. So I couldn't look at how big everything was, and it gets really old when you're doing that like the 12th thing. So like having ideas around scale, making it easy, all those sort of things. Yeah, she's hit me a pass mark. I'm okay. If you've got them on clothes, show them on a person. So this is a really big thing for those of you that sell clothes. If you just use the pictures that you have been provided with by the company, and this is for all of you, if you just use those images and other competitors also use the same images, there is no point of difference between your website and another one. And so it's really important that you try and use all those images that are a bit different. I know it creates more work, and so you might not do it for everything, but trying to have images that show on different bodies and things like that are really important. I really like that on ASOS, for example. I think it's ASOS. I know it's a big site with big budget. Hine. Yeah, Hine is great. Hine gives you the measurements of who they are. They show it. And On Body do. Exactly. They really do. If you've got things on a person, it makes a huge difference. There we go, Jeremy. That's perfect. That's great intel. But it is true, like having it on a person or if you've got product shots, so this is one for Sarah Primrose and those of you that have got, and Marlene, if you have like a hand holding a bottle or a hand or a foot or something, a part of a body anatomy, a G-rated anatomy part, in your shots, you're more likely to convert because it gives people a scale. It helps them imagine things on them. It's kind of like having photos on in your house. When people come in to have a look at real estate, sometimes family shots help people understand and make that feel. So it's kind of the same thing as that. So having those on. And then the next thing, which I'm going to get Brie to talk to actually, even though I didn't tell her she was going to, is looking at how detailed your descriptions are, having those that detail. I'm choosing Brie to talk about this because she did a rant about this.
I did.
Right, Brie, go for it.
It's something that I see in a lot of our clients when I go, like for the product based, but also services as well. But really, product based businesses, I go to their website, I look at their product page, and their description is like lavender soy candle. Like that doesn't tell me anything, because we need to remember that we have to recreate the shopping experience that someone would have through the description, our product description. So when we go shopping and we're at an actual store, we're touching, we're smelling, we're holding it up to how it looks to us, we seeing if it's itchy, there's all these things. We're looking in the mirror to see how it looks on us. So we need to recreate that experience through our product description. So there's a couple of different areas that we need to talk about. For sure, how it feels. So, like really trying to not just saying it's silk, but saying, it's like it's silk and it's got a bit of stretch to it and it just glides around the skin. It doesn't cling to the curves that you would expect silk to do. Like you need to be thinking about, okay, if I was the customer, what would I be doing if I was in the store? What would the questions I'd be asking myself be? And we need to answer that through the product description. So how does it feel? What's the size? How does it fit? So if it is clothing, does it fit small? Does it fit big? Is it slouchy? How does it fit? If it's a product, exactly what Rachel says, there needs to be one of your images needs to have something so that we can decide how big it is. An example of this is a couple of weeks ago, I bought 2 dressers from Mocha, thinking that they were smaller than when they arrived, thinking I could use them as a bedside table. And I purchased 2 of them. And now when I'm laying in bed, I can't even reach the top of my bedside table because it is so high. So
I'm just saying, Brie, you should have used the pug ruler.
The what? Oh, the
pug ruler.
Yes. So yeah, talking about how it feels, the size of it, and if it's something that we can smell or taste, explaining, like talking about comparisons, it smells like this, it tastes like that. And then finally, trying to create an experience. So ModCloth does this really well.
I'm here. I'm just going to get it.
Yep. So ModCloth actually names each one of their clothing a specific name, like big meeting dress or something like that, so that you can really envision what you would be doing in this particular piece of clothing. So here comes success, right? So I really like that they have really thought about each piece and what the experience of wearing this would be, what you would be wearing it for. And they've literally named it after that.
Brie, that you say that too, because one of the things that I found really interesting is, so Sarah Ram and I'm quite close to what I buy from her, and Sarah sells particular brands, and it's really interesting because every now and again I'll see an Australian business, because I follow a lot of them, who's selling the same ones, but they've renamed them under their they haven't named the brand like the brand, they've renamed it to fit better.
Could you hear that? Somebody is sawing something outside my office.
Typical. Can I just also say, because I loved all of that. The other thing you can do, and I'm just going to show you on here. I don't know if there'll be one here that's got it yet. But the other thing that we recommend with this is a lot of people put testimonials in the wrong place. And we recommend that where possible that you actually, sorry, that's just annoying there. I find that annoying. Where possible, here we go. You put the review actually with, if they've got it with the dress, put it with the dress, or put it, if they've got a comment about it. So like here, this person didn't read the description properly and has said it, but actually really loved it and has said, so that also helps with the selling, like having other reviews. And what you can do is, if you don't have that happening, I'm just going to show you. This is what the carpenter's daughter do. Now, I'm sorry, guys, I'm using plus size versions, but I'm plus size, so you just have to suck it up. And you can use it for whatever products you're using it yourself. But this is Caroline, and yes, there is a review feature in Shopify. As long as you're using it with the different thing, you can do that, which is really good. You can get an app, Sarah, for that. You can get everything in Shopify. So this is Caroline, and she used to spend, I actually modeled for her for Fashion Week. So she used to spend a lot of money on models, and not on me, but on models. She used to spend money on models. But she actually puts everything on her. So everything is so keeps it cheap for her. So, but you can immediately see what it is. But I was going to show you. So I actually bought these pants, and they didn't fit me. This isn't the pants there, but they're in the picture because they're nice pants. I'll show you these pants. You can see, you see them, you go, yeah, those are definitely Rachel pants, for those of you who know me. But one of the things around the pants is when I bought them, they didn't suit me for a couple of reasons. And I went and said to her, hey, I love these, but they didn't fit me right, and this is why. And she went, thank you, I will add that to the description. I hadn't realized I'd missed that out. So when you get feedback and returns, it's actually a really good idea to ask those people, what was it that made you not buy it? Like you ordered it and you didn't get it. What is it that you didn't love about it? So you can adapt your descriptions to improve for the next time and learn from that for the next time. So she went, oh, actually, I didn't mention that they didn't have stretch, and I wanted them to have stretch. And so that was something that she hadn't thought about telling me. So that was quite good. Or it might be like you might have a certain number of something in a box, but you don't tell people how many. So they're going, I'm going to get 100 of these, and there's only 4, which means they're going to be frustrated with you. So thinking about why people, ask with those people that do that, ask them and make sure that you've got that information, because that's just so important. I've just taken a look at the time, and I'm just going, cool, I think we're going to be busy during these sessions. So I'm just going to grab my slides here, guys. And open these up. And I'm just going to grab it here and put Bree and me back on. Sorry, guys, we'll go like this. Here we go. Okay, look, we've changed position, Bree. How beautiful. All right, so there's a couple of things you need to do in terms of that product idea and having those reviews on there. Obviously, when you're loading up your images, do use what's called alt tags. Make sure you've got your business name, the name of the brand, and then a description, so that when people are searching for that type of clothing and the description, that they've got those and can find them on Google image search. I use it a lot to try and find something. So like I might go, like I'm really into green and pink at the moment. I might go green and pink floral top, and then I would find a whole bunch of them, and then normally they're out of stock. But you can go and look at, a lot of people who are visual will look for that as opposed to coming to a website. So that would help people find you if you've got that, which is really good. So make sure you've got that. And it's great for SEO, search engine optimization, is to have those alt tags. So in Shopify, they're automatically in there. And when you do your description, that is your alt tag. In WordPress or WooCommerce, you actually have to literally add it as an extra thing. So just be aware of that. I'm not too sure with the other different platforms. Those are the two that we mainly work with. BigCommerce might be the same. Squarespace, there is a space, with the images. When you load up the image, there's an alt tag space. Okay, the next thing I need to talk to you about is Afterpay, OxyPay, and Lay-by. Now, I don't use these things because I am freaking ancient. Like, I'm 49, and when I was in my late teens and early 20s, Lay-by for us, I'll just get my walking cane out. Lay-by for us was actually seeing something we liked, putting a deposit on it in the store, and then paying it off as fast as we could to get the product, hopefully still liking it at the end. But no, today, Georgie, thanks for making me feel that someone else here is as ancient as me. Not that you're ancient, but I'm ancient. But it is really important to add Afterpay or Oxy with money you stashed under your mattress or stole from your dad's wallet. But, he still thinks it was someone else, so let's not tell him. So Afterpay, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm definitely a snoring chicken. Sorry. So Afterpay, Oxypay, and yeah, I knew it was free. Oxypay, Afterpay, and Laybuy. Which ones? Who's got them, and which ones do you have, guys? I know Sarah's got Laybuy. No, Afterpay. So who doesn't have any of those? Yeah, Janelle pays one. So I would definitely look at it because it does help. Yes. So Sarah, I used to feel that way too, and it's not applicable to you. Yes, I used to feel that way too, but actually some people are doing it. I would recommend only having one or two. Don't have everything. Afterpay and Laybuy are normally the most popular ones. It just depends on what platform you've got. So I've got clients who have to use Oxypay just because of the type they've got. But I used to feel the same way as you, Sarah, but some people can afford it. They just choose to pay it off over a period of time. And so I feel that way too. I feel that for you, but I also know that those who have it get a lot more sales. And so there's this line. It's kind of like how I feel how intrusive Facebook is. Like I personally don't like Facebook. Well, actually, it's not just younger people. It's actually more. Cool, Sarah. Awesome. But it's not just Facebook. So it's how I feel about Facebook. Like lots of us don't love Facebook. Well, Kathleen, I would personally say if there's a 5% pricing in there, I would just increase your prices by 5 or 10% anyway. You're selling out like this every time you do something. So I reckon just put your prices up. Nod. So there we go. See, I like this. This is like an auction, Brie. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Kate would definitely use it even if she couldn't. Sales channel. Yeah, and it's a great sales channel. It's great SEO and they push people. So look at that. The other thing that I would tell you to do is to have Pinterest pins on your website so people can pin what they like to their Pinterest board. Especially if you've got larger items. I've used this. We're currently doing looking at landscaping our garden. I'm pinning stuff to that. I've been redoing my office and I have an office board and I've been repinning office ideas in there. And there's things like from $20 on that board all the way up to mega expensive to get ideas and thoughts and stimulations. And honestly, guys, the space is starting to look pretty groovy now. So I'm pretty happy that I did it, but it helps for inspiration. If people might get ideas and things like that. So you can add a Pinterest pin from Pinterest, and we'll cover that quite soon, Ingrid. But just something for you to do is to make sure that you have that pin to make things pinnable is really good because it means that people can pin. And when they pin something to Pinterest boards, other people can find it on Pinterest and then pin it to theirs. So it helps spread your name through the interwebs. So that's really important. Adding chat is super important as well. So I'm actually going to pull up, I don't think Liz is here. She might be. She's normally quite quiet, so she doesn't like me outing her. I'll know if she's here because she'll send me a text that says, shh. But I'm just going to show you my screen for a minute. Yeah, it's amazing how many people do actually use the Pinterest pin and collect from it. So I'm just going to show you on Liz's one here through here.
Oh, wow. That's incredible, Chrissy.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. That is so true though. Look, it's the same for me. I wasn't like a big fan of chat, to be honest. And we make so much things that we have to do. So contact us here. You can use chat through Facebook. So you can use the Facebook chat and have it on your website with most website platforms. We use that, or we use Zoho chat. That's what we use. Or because we're part of Zoho, but we're a business, like a business to business, so it's separate. And then you can also do active campaign chat, but I'd normally recommend just using the Facebook chat. It's free. But she'll often after dinner, she'll just sit there with her computer near her while she's hanging out with her husband, pretending to interact. And I don't mean that rude about her. I'm just saying that's what I always say about people chatting online while they're pretending to talk to their husbands. And people ask her a question like, which cast iron pot should I get? And she'll go, well, how big's your family? And they'll say, oh, well, did you get this one? And they go, great, done, deal, sold. Because people want to have that feeling that they've got a shop assistant. This is like us having a shop assistant that we're choosing to. So yeah, there's the TDO trial, I would probably say that if you are using, no, I wouldn't use chatbots. It's purely yourself. It's actually better to have you there doing it. I don't personally like chatbots. I find them very frustrating to talk to unless they're beautifully run, but I tend to ask questions that don't seem to fit with that. So I'm talking about actually having a contact us there. If you can't be there all the time, people forgive that. They'll just email you the request. But I would recommend looking at having chat. You could even have a thing that says, our chat is manned between the hours of 8 till 5. After that, sometimes it may go to email, so people know. So you could have an automatic response for that. But actually, it's all about just getting that customer experience online. I'm amazed at how often people will use it for us as well. So it is a really important thing to have, is to have that chat. And then the last thing I want you to consider doing, and I've kind of mentioned it already, is I want you to make sure that your shopping experience is straightforward. So I recommend, oh, yeah, I know. That was good. That's in the Facebook group. Everyone, there's a funny video about how people act on e-commerce stores with the bakery. Someone was obsessed, though, with that video because this guy was holding the bread rolls with his hands without a glove on, and that's all they could think about. The shopping experience it needs to be straightforward. And so what I'd recommend you do is get a bunch of people. Yeah, I agree, Ingrid. That's why I think real people is really important. Get someone next to you and say things like, I'd like you to buy the salted caramel candle, large salted caramel candle, please. And that's all I want you to tell them to do. And then I want you to get them to go through and find it and get it and all those sort of things, and listen to when they're getting frustrated or not being able to find things, and note things down. Because look, I remember going and running a course with a client, and he wanted to show me his new website. And I did a live test with it. I was in front of him and all his staff, and I couldn't find how to book into one of his studios. It was a fitness related thing. And he said to me, "You're using the website wrong." And I said, "You won't be in the living rooms of every single person who's going to use this. So I'm not using the website wrong. You didn't make it easy to use." And that's really important, right? Yeah. I know, but I think the thing is that we often go, well, you're not using it right, and I think it's things like filtering. Like I get frustrated. One of the websites I get really frustrated with is one called Zebrano, which again is a plus size one. But like you search under size and it will show you all the clothes that have at some point been in that size. So it doesn't filter them out. So you click on something because you go, oh my gosh, I love it. And then you go, oh, awesome. It's the size 10. Well, I'm not going to fit that, and so that like it doesn't filter properly, or it doesn't you say that you'll filter but it doesn't do it right. Those filtering only is good if it works. And it's important to have filtering. Like if I go to your website and it's just line upon line of things and I can't work out how to find something in there, I'm going to get really frustrated and leave.
Yeah.
You would too, Bree?
100%. I do it all the time.
Yeah, I do too. I just, even if I really wanted something from there, I get frustrated. So that's really key. So that's quite a big thing, because that's the part that we find is the biggest thing that people often don't do. The next thing is the technical part. So we talked about on-page SEO and talked about how you need to make sure that you've got all those words in there. So having those words in there in the descriptions actually help with your SEO really, really well, because those are things that people are searching for. So like even if it's got a green and so let's just take this this shirt, which actually was on sale from ModCloth, Brie.
Oh, that's funny.
But you could talk about like green with purple and pink flowers. You need to put that in the description, because Google can only see the image. It can't see the image. It can only read the description. So the description is not just for the person, it's also for Google to help find it. So if someone's searching for it, they'll know that it's there. Google is essentially blind. So it's kind of like you have to imagine every word is Braille. They can see that, but an image is unseeable unless it's got that alt text behind it, and it needs to come with the words description alongside it as well for it to work. So it's really important. As well as on-page SEO. Oh, here you go. These are the things I talked about. I'll just go back to this. So we'll talk about the off-page in a minute. So just remember that the images and the words are the things that help us fall in love with stuff. And you have to remember buyer behavior. So I'll often say, I worked with a client about 2 years ago who had a baby wear store. And she said to me, I don't want to run ads at night because no one buys at night. And I said, but in your ads at nighttime, we can physically see that we're getting a lot of add to carts. And she said, but it's a waste of time because no one buys at night. And this is not understanding the buyer experience, because this is how the buyer experience works. And this is for the woman in the group. This is how it works. You're sitting there with your husband or your children, someone you're meant to be interacting with, and it's a little bit boring, or you've picked up your phone and checked it on the couch. And that's great, Sarah. But see, what happens is, like, I'll be going and I'll be like, oh, I really like that dress, add to cart. Oh, I really like that, add to cart. And then I get to the checkout thing and it goes, okay, it's $495. And I think, oh, it's a little bit too much. I might have to rifle through a few things. So I take a few things out. And then I'm like, oh, crap. Now I'm going to have to put my credit card details in, which means I'm going to have to get off the couch and tell Rod that I'm not actually listening to him. I've secretly been shopping.
Yeah.
So I will leave them in the add to cart. And then tomorrow, when I'm meant to be working, I will quickly jump on with my credit card and buy my stuff then. So add to carts at night is all about us falling in love. We all want to fall in love with the product. We want, I think the reason that shopping online is so super addictive is when you go into a shop, it's just walk into the shop, try something on, buy it, go. When you're buying online, it's so seductive. You see an ad or a social media post, you come through. Yeah, you have to get up and find your card. And if they haven't recaptured you, Deirdre, they've lost you. So the first thing is you think, you want them to come back and look. Like, I will spend ages going back and look again and again and again and again before I buy something. The images and the words help people fall in love with what you've got. So it is so important. Yeah, so does mine. Yeah, that is mine in Bridge, but every now and again that doesn't work, and then it's terrible. Or sometimes I can't remember. Sometimes it doesn't come up, and I'm like, it should be coming up. It should be. Yeah. It's so annoying. So making sure that shopping online experience is really good. Oh, and this is your bit, Bree. So we're going to talk. Before we do this, I'll just talk about SEO. I may have done it out of order, guys, but SEO. If you Google free business directories, so if you're working with us, you get a list of these anyway, but if you Google free business directories, you'll come up with a bunch of ones that you can list yourself on, which will lift you up in Google searches. And the next thing with that is, I'm just going to show you quickly, is Pinterest. So Pinterest is really powerful. I possibly have gone out of order. But hey, we can survive that. We'll just miss out on the pretty slide that comes to it when we do it. I've gone rogue, guys. You're just going to have to deal with it, but I can see that it's on here, so I'm just going to do it. So this is actually my Pinterest board. I don't sell products, I sell services. And so I was like, it really is just for products. I will tell you that we get so many leads who've come to us from our Pinterest page. I have become completely sold out to how powerful Pinterest is. People search for stuff. And another thing that people don't know is Pinterest ads are very cheap to run. So when you have a Pinterest page, you can make sure you've got a business page. And in your business page, you can get a little bit of a tag. So you can see how there's a tag here that can help with tracking your ads, and you can also have a little pin tag that goes onto your website to get that pin tag. But you can also use this to run ads targeted to your target audience in New Zealand or Australia or wherever you're targeting to bring you through. So you can see that I haven't had any promoted ones recently, but the amount of impressions and clicks going through to our website has been really huge for a very little amount of money, and most people in New Zealand are not using Pinterest. I don't know the answer to that, Emma, but I'd say they wouldn't, because they're not run by very, very conservative people. Well done, Mel. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, 3 years is better than 5, is what I like to say. So we've been using it. We pay. Last month I think we had $300. We had 238 link clicks. People going through our website, but it was showed to 78,000 people. I mean, that's 68,000 people. I mean, there's a lot of people that it's showing in New Zealand to businesses. So it is actually really powerful. And I would definitely give it a go. I would definitely check and see and test, Emma, around the skin thing. I mean, I guess it's just working it out. They're not as mean as and it's in Facebook, as in get you banned as easily. So I would try. Boy, Facebook's scary. Okay, right. Yeah, I can imagine they would be. All right, Bree,
take it away.
Take it away.
Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to clarify about Facebook and Instagram is that, what's the value of social media to my business? Because more and more social media is becoming like our part-time job as business owners. Just marketing in general, right? There's just so much to do, and it can be hard to understand, why am I putting all these resources and time towards social media and emails and all this stuff? Like, what is it actually adding to my bottom line? So I wanted to bring in my whiteboard here. So if this is the point in the buyer journey where they've actually made the purchase, it is highly unlikely that, they've never heard of you before and they saw one social media post from you and made a purchase, right? It's usually this entire buyer journey with lots of different touch points. So these touch points might be that, they saw you come up in a Facebook ad, then, mom came home with a pair of pants that week and loved them. Then they saw, that those pants came in another pattern. Then they signed up for your email, newsletter. And there's all these different touch points that happen until they finally decide that it's time to make that purchase. And this buyer journey, depending on what your product is, can be years long. So it can be like probably at least 3 months, I would say. But it can be years long, right? Depending on what your product is. So how do we, shorten that span of time? We increase those touch points, and we do that through social media. So before social media, all we had to rely on were we weren't at their fingertips all the time. And so it was just by chance if someone mentioned us or they saw our billboard or whatever. But now we can, now they'll see a story from us, and then they'll see an IGTV, and then they'll, a Facebook ad will come up, and then they see that mom's got those pants, and, and it's like all of a sudden within the span of just a couple of weeks, really, their buyer journey has really condensed and they have a lot of touch points. So that's sort of what I wanted to explain as the value of social media. But we also need to remember that it's not just a soapbox for us to stand up on and shout about our products, because when I don't know about you guys, but if you've ever seen someone in a store, let's say they're at the warehouse and they're like doing a demonstration of their product, and it's like clearly they're there to like sell the product. And you might even be watching their demonstration, but as soon as it comes to the end of that demo and they're like, all right, who's ready to buy? Can I get one for you? Can I get one for you? Are you going to buy? And it's like suddenly everyone escapes. It's because we don't want to be told what to do. We need to come to that purchasing decision of our own choice. And that's what we want for people as well. We don't want to just shove our product down their throat. But how do we sell to them? A lot of marketers will say you can only sell to them, 10% of the time or even less. And I understand where they're coming from. They're coming from those specific posts that are saying, buy now. You only want, maybe 10% of your social media content to be that. But I really think there needs to come the shift in how we're thinking of selling. Selling is no longer buy my product, buy my product, buy my product. It's about a value-based transaction. So I'm going to say we're going to sell 100% of the time. It's just that selling looks completely different through social media and really all of our other channels. So you're going to be creating now, Rachel, I don't know how much time I have. Should I go into creating like a content calendar?
No, I don't think we'll have time, except probably just say to them a little bit about, do you want to just talk about like some things that they could talk about? Yeah.
So
we could talk for hours on this. We've run whole webinars just on this. So, I've got to ramp her in because she would be here till 9 o'clock tonight talking about it, and she'd be really interesting. But my phone's going to run out before we do that. So,
okay. So I'm sure in the near future, there will be another webinar about creating a content calendar.
There is actually one coming up.
I thought that was, and then I second guessed myself thinking that was our planning session. But
Tony said you'd listen until then.
Okay. So what I'm going to teach you when we're talking about creating a content calendar and stuff like that, and Rachel knows this as well, is having things like content pillars, which are categories that your posts fit in that are always valuable. So things like educational and tips and tutorials, talking about the team. You are still selling your product by unfolding the story about your brand and why it's important to buy from you. And I just wanted to give you one example, which was, so I thought of an example of like essential oils. So let's just talk about the educational type content. So you have sort of this category, which is educational content, but then you have these different things underneath. And when we're talking about essential oils, I don't know why I thought about that because I actually don't use those a lot. But, things like talking about chemical-free living, giving value and how you live with chemical-free, what other sleep remedies are. So even though might not even be about essential oils, you're selling this idea that there's a better life, more calmness, better sleep through these different avenues, including essential oils. Talking about which diffuser is the right fit, how to blend different blends, talking about edible oils and the difference between those and the ones you just put on your skin or put in the diffuser, whatever, and parenting with essential oils. So that's really just like the tip of the iceberg when you're thinking only about one content pillar, which could be educational. But I think my main point is really just shifting your mindset between I gotta sell, to what value can I provide to my following online, because that's where you're going to get the engagement. That's when you're going to see growth. And most importantly, that's when you're going to see like loyal brand ambassadors who are sharing their content about, their orders from you, their purchases from you. And that's what we want, because we want to be able to share their content on our channels as well.
And Bree, while we're just talking about that, because I'm cheating because I wrote the checklist and didn't show it to her first, which is very mean of me because I got it from all her staff, but then I told her she could only have like 2 minutes to talk. But I am going to pull up little party dress while we're doing this, and I was wanting to know if you could just talk briefly about user-generated content.
Oh, yeah. So user-generated content is content that our customers or clients have made and like tagged us in or have used our hashtag and have given us permission to then share it onto our social channels. And this is like that idea of influencer marketing, and it just provides this idea that it's like, my friend and family has used it. It's one thing to hear a brand talk about how great their product is, but it's another thing to hear like a fellow customer talk about how great their product is.
So this is I think this is one fashion brand that does it super well. So they do use influencers where they give them quite a lot of stuff to they actually use a lot of their budget to give influencers their clothes to wear. But what it's done is that other people then have felt liberated. So these are not all influencers. Some of these are their actual clients who've taken great shots, and then they've gone, actually, we love that shot. Can we use it? And you can see like 519 people have liked it and 23 people have commented on it. I mean, this is just someone looking in a mirror, but they are enough for people to go, oh, wow, that's great. So they're using real people modeling their clothes all the time. Like that is just a shot. It's not a model shot. Like this is one of her influencers. So it's a model shot, but these are people that she's using that give her. And I bought this skirt off this thing, by the way, because I loved it so much. Like I bought that skirt. But this is her using people real life pictures all the time. And if you go to her Instagram stories, which we're going to talk about soon, but we can have a brief interlude to something else first. This is her showing all her different influence people just sharing what they wear of her stuff. She does it so well to the point where people are pretty much just buying straight away from her, using user generated content. That's little party dress, Chrissy. They are cheap and cheerful, all under $100. And they are many people's nemesises, to be honest, in the fashion world, because they just do such a good job of making it about their customers, which is what's the big deal. And I know I want to do it. She's got lots more followers than me. So if I've got a picture of me wearing a little party dress, like heaps of my photos of me wearing a little party dress in my marketing stuff, I know that if I post it, every time I do that, she shares a picture of me, which is great for me. Like it's actually great for my brand. So it's a quid pro quo. It's actually something where most people are really happy to share those images. And it's great, I'm also bringing back, by the way, Brie, Follow Friday. I've decided every Friday I'm going to highlight 4 different Instagram accounts and do like a little suggested follow of them.
That's cool. I did want to mention that I saw Ingrid say, like, how can you prove the value of social media? And I do know what she's getting at. And that is largely done through analytics. So especially Google Analytics, where you can actually see where people are coming from, and it will tell you, this person's coming from Facebook or Instagram. They're looking at this particular item, and then they've completed a purchase. But that's actually something that you need to set up in Google Analytics, and it does take a bit of time to understand, but it is really, really good to do that and understand it.
Yeah, we use Zoho Analytics the same way, and it is actually amazing working out where people have come as leads and then how they convert, which is amazing. Yeah. Well, I think, Ingrid, the thing is that you can't always link it to the final decision. No. It has to come down to a trust point of understanding this is just how it works. It used to be that you needed 5 to 7 touch points to make a decision. It's now 13 to 22.
Yeah.
So there's no way you could go, I said to you, I bought that skirt off that shot, but I'd already seen it last year and I've seen it several times before, and it took a while to wear me down, So would that shot have been the one that made me make the decision, or was it the fact it was the final one and a whole bunch of other ones beforehand? None of those ones were wasted. So it is all about how it all fits together. And that's, remember how I said at the beginning, it's all connected. You can't just take a Facebook or an Instagram post and then go, this is the thing that caused the sale, because it's that plus marketing automation plus other bits and pieces. Yeah, you can do that with influencers. Yeah, Tracy, you do that really well. I'm assuming that's Tracy from Scoodle. So she uses influencers that way, and she gives them a code so she can track for them when they're doing that. And I know Happy Moose and other people do the same thing. But in terms of that single post, even with those influencers doing that, those people are still impacted by the fact that Tracy's doing a whole lot of other stuff as well to bring that happen. And I think that's just really important, which brings me on to this. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Facebook shops and catalogs. Now, I'm currently having a mare of a time with a client. I don't know if she's on here today, so I won't name her, where we've had a horrific experience with the new Facebook WooCommerce integration, and it's been a horrendous experience. But Facebook shops are super cool. Instagram shopping in the new way isn't here in New Zealand yet, where you can have a shop on Instagram, but you can do a thing where you get your catalog, your Facebook shop, your shop on your website, and you can pull it through and connect it onto Facebook. And what that does is it does three things. One, you can create a Facebook shop that's directly related to your website where people can buy directly online from you. So, for example, I can go to a Facebook page and there'll be an image there with a product, and I go, oh, I love, and I'll say, complete the purchase, and basically at that point, it will go through to your website and buy it. In America, not here yet, in America, you can do that just on Facebook. Now, I've got some really big issues with this because I've read their terms and conditions, and it's basically Facebook is going to manage that whole process, and I start to get a bit freaked out about that whole thing. But I guess it will be a bit like Afterpay and Lay-by, where you go, well, actually, if I'm making an extra $10,000 a month from this, will I care? But at the moment, it's just a third party where it connects up. The other thing that it does is it allows you to have Facebook and Instagram shopping. And what that means is, which is different from a Facebook shop, which means that if you are doing a post, so say you were doing a post on bee bombs from Sarah from Primrose, she would be able to use a beautiful stylized picture, even user-generated content if she wanted to. And as she's posting it, she could tag the product that she liked in the image. So I could read her post, which would be lovely informational post, have the beautiful fire with the bee bombs and all those sort of things on it. And then it might have a little shopping bag thing at the edge of it, and I click that and it will take me through to the website and I'll buy it. And so that also means that we can measure those, which is really good. And then the third thing it does is it allows you to have proper dynamic Facebook ads. And I don't know, let me just check if I'm covering this later. I think I am. Yeah, I'm covering this later. So let me just bring up that we want to have that sync. To get this, you need to have a Facebook pixel, which is a bit of code from Facebook, and you need to have Facebook Business Manager, and you need to have the catalog set up. But we'll talk about that a little bit later as we move forward, because now we're going back to Bree for the power of Instagram stories. You're going to do that stuff, Tracy.
So I love Instagram stories. If any of you follow me at Simple Life Social on Instagram, you'll see that I'm pretty consistent with Instagram stories, because when I started using stories, that's when I really saw my social presence take off, started growing my following. I was posting every day, but as soon as I did stories, that was what made the difference. And also, it's just a fantastic way to relate to your audience and your customers. They're not wanting a polished, produced content there, where they might be looking a little bit more for that in your actual posts on Facebook and Instagram. They might want that look of like a professional photographer has come in and stylized things. But on Instagram stories, they're not looking for that. They don't care about that. They just want the authentic, real you. And so that's the difference between the content there. And a cool stat that really surprised me, and this was Facebook stats done in Australasia, so it actually does apply to us, is that 57% of people said they became more interested in a product after seeing it in stories. So 57% of people became more interested in a product after seeing it in stories. That's huge. That's 6 out of 10 people who see your stories will technically become more interested in the product that you're talking about. And I think, you know, that's because we're usually showing it in a more authentic way, whereas we are holding it, we're holding the product, we're wearing, you know, the clothing, we're talking about how it feels, we're talking about different uses for it. It's just more of like this personal one-on-one as opposed to a really beautiful picture of it with a great description. It's just completely different. And we can really visualize it in our lives and why we might need that. So you can also set up shoppable products in stories as well, which is awesome because you can, you know, people are becoming more interested in it. And then you have the ability for them to click and buy it right away. That's a great use of it as well. And then also stories is a great place for influencer marketing campaigns, which I won't go into heaps, but I do caution you when going into influencer marketing relationships. I don't like the post for product type ideas where they're just kind of like, send me your product and I'll make a post about it. I don't feel like that is really giving your brand the, you know, this authentic story that it deserves. And also you need to really make sure that those influencers share the same values that your brand shares, that their following is actually engaged with them, because sometimes, you know, a person might have 100,000 followers, but if you look at their comments, it's just like hearts. And I don't know, to me, that doesn't really show me the lifetime value of what that influencer can get me. But if they're more engaged, if they're commenting back like, yes, I can see this dress on you, it's going to look amazing for your birthday, or, you know, like they're really engaged in building relationships with those, with their following, then in turn, I really think that's just going to create a better lifetime client for you as well, because they're just so much more engaged in that product that you've done. So yeah, not talking too much about influencer marketing, but if you are interested in that, please get it. Like Rachel's done a lot of work with that, and I've done some as well. So get in touch with us to talk more about that. And I did want to talk just a little bit about cohesive aesthetic in stories. So obviously we know that we can create images in Canva, especially if we're doing product, like specific products and stuff. Creating those stories in Canva so that we have them there and it's all cohesive and it goes with our branding, that is a great way to do it. But we don't have to create every story that we do in Canva. It can simply be, okay, I've got 15 minutes. I'm going to walk around the store. I'm going to grab 3 of my favorite teacups, and I'm going to get on stories and share why I love each one of these teacups, or why our customers, you know, love these ones. So it doesn't have to take up a lot of time in Canva. One thing that I would encourage you to do is try and choose maybe a specific filter, so that every time you go on stories, you're using that same filter, so that kind of creates the brand cohesiveness, the aesthetic. And if you can do this, I don't know if you guys are seeing this change in
because I want to show you this while you're doing it, because this is
yeah.
All right. I thought I'd show it. Cool. Your thing, but I was like, it's a perfect example, right?
It is. And I love that. So Sarah came to our Canva webinar, and she's just been a bit of a Canva addict since then, which I love.
Yes, but I was like, this is a really good example of how you could use it as an Instagram story, eh?
Yeah, totally.
And just on this too, Brie, because we're going to talk about Facebook ads later, but with Facebook ads and Instagram ads, I asked Sarah to give that to me because that will actually become one of her ads.
Yeah.
because
Such a
it's interactive.
Totally. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about Instagram stories was GIFs. So I know some of you might be like, what?
Do you
Like,
want me to put yours up?
this is a bit of an advanced thing, but trying to create some GIFs and getting your brand account on Giphy so that you can access them through the Instagram stickers and stuff. So powerful. And then your customers can use those GIFs as well. And such a great little thing to decorate your stories with.
So these are my ones I'm going to show you, Bree. So you might have seen them before because we actually use ours together for our advertising as well, but they're great for getting little information on. So I've got one here with me in my little party dress. So every time I have this one, I actually tag it with a little party dress. I'm just going to bring up Bree's because hers are quite adorable. Let me just find yours. I'm assuming it's under Simple Life Social, Bree. Is that right?
I actually got an email from Giphy saying that because I didn't realize I couldn't have some of my clients' GIFs on there. They told me off, so I have to go and delete.
Yeah, you've got hers on there. They need to be on your one.
Yeah.
Man, you've gone completely crazy.
Yes, I know.
They need to have their own ones. You need to just make their own ones for that.
Yeah. See, I don't know why it doesn't show up all those ones that come in. Oh, the stickers. That's right.
Yeah, so one of the things is you make stickers. So these are her stickers. Aren't they so cute? This is my favorite one. I've used the one with the wine before. I've also used the crazy angry one, but I've probably with a smiley and the heart one.
Angry ones, and I never use them. I'm like, why did I make so many angry ones?
So they are actually really easy to do. How long does it take to get approved on Giphy? It's super easy. You have to make 5 GIFs or stickers.
Yeah.
And then once you've got those, you basically apply it as a brand. So when I first did it, I wanted to go under Rachel Claver, but because it was linking back to my Identify site, they said I had to either go Rachel Claver or Identify. So I made it under Identify Marketing. And I'm just going to show you back onto mine. Let me just find, I went a little bit too far. Hang on. I just want to show you on mine, just to show you just how powerful this is. Mine's been going for about maybe 6 weeks now. I'm not too sure. But I've had 1.6 million Giphy views, guys.
That's crazy.
I mean, that's just crazy. So it is really powerful what you can use it for. And I have no idea if other people are using mine. I mean, if they do, they're probably doing it as a mockery of me. But it is such a great way to add brand. Like you can just, imagine with your clothing and things like that, or especially things that are fairly static products, as in like you've got the same thing every year. This is a really good use of it. Or if you are the person, you're shy and you don't want to be doing stories all the time, one thing you could do is have your product but have a picture of you in a Giphy with a little comment, and that would also be that personal touch, wouldn't it, Brie?
Yeah.
Not that you're going to let them do that, but I'm just saying.
I was too focused on your gifts. I actually don't know what you said.
Okay, well, that's fine then. Don't worry about it. All right, we'll move on. All right, so we did talk about off-page SEO. I've done it out of order, but that was the Pinterest and the free business directories. Her one is Simple Life Social. Oh, look, she's answering away, which is good. Thanks, Brie. Okay, she's saying, okay, Pinterest. We haven't done Pinterest yet, have we? We did look at it briefly, but one of the things I just want to talk to you about Pinterest. Gosh, by the way, I just love our new branding, Brie. It's so pretty.
Oh, it is.
Hey, so I'm going to tell you what I did, guys. So I actually have learned a bit from Brie as well, and she's really fussy about this whole consistency thing, which I'm not really a big fan of. So I decided to listen to her because, she's the expert. So we've been doing it. But what we discovered is there's this thing called creativemarket.com, which is in here, because I didn't want to have the same as everybody else. So we've been redesigning our stuff, but we bought our own font, which was a font that wasn't on Creative Market, and we also bought some images that weren't on Canva. We bought some images that went on Canva that are ours that we're licensed to be allowed to use. And the really cool thing with these is we're actually allowed to use these for print as well. So if we wanted to, we could also create other things. I don't know, not that I'd be allowed to. Rod wouldn't let me. I've already done a failed e-commerce. He wouldn't let me. I tried to buy an e-commerce store the other day, and he was like, right, because we have all this time, right? And I was like, it'd be good to practice on. He said, you should never have a business to practice on. I was like, you're so negative all the time about these things. And he's like, no, I just know you. And I was like, yeah, you do. Okay, so but Creative Market was a cool little place. I bought some images that I liked. We've reworked our colors. And so it means that even though I feel like what we've got was engaging and stuff like that, we are just bringing cohesiveness, slowly rolling out a more cohesive thing. So even in your emails that you'll get this afternoon, you'll see that look and feel is there. So Pinterest, just moving on to that because I got distracted. With Pinterest, you have one board that's just your products, and then you have other boards that have got related things on them. So I love it, Brie, when I say something and you go, oh, I didn't know that, and you write it down.
Yeah, I do.
I do that half the time when you're doing stuff too. I love it because we're teaching each other at the same time. But one of the things with Pinterest that I learned was having this board that just has all your stuff on it and nothing else goes on there. So you can have all your blogs and stuff like that as well, your products. But then the other ones are things that are related to that. One of the people that I see that I really like this with, I was going to grab them so that you can have a look because I didn't pull them up before. Gosh, I feel bad because I'm giving you things that are all plus size designers, but I've worked with quite a lot of them, so it's an easy thing to do. And she's where we show you this. So Nikki is a plus size designer based in New Zealand. And I'll just show you her thing. And she loves Pinterest. She uses it a lot. And she actually hasn't used it recently a lot, but she was. But you can see here, she'll have she might have one. She should actually have a board, which she hasn't done, that's just of her product. But then she'll have a whole lot of ones where she's showing accessories and color, because color is something that she's known for. So she'll have things that are inspiring and beautiful textural things and color that help her feel inspired, but also would be things that her target market might also be inspired. I mean, that shot there is just absolutely gorgeous. Wow. So she's using Pinterest to collect and use, and it's the same with me. So I have got a board here that is basically just our stuff. I can never remember which one of it is, guys. I think it's this one. Yeah, it's just this one. But then I have this one, which is infographics about marketing, and I've got our infographics in here, but these are ours. But we've also got a whole lot of other people's ones in here too, because the more you gather, and that's another one of ours, you gather ones that you've got and their ones and put them together, and that's how you build Pinterest. So it's not just about showing your ideas, it's also about showing other things that people might be interested in to share and attract people into your space, which is really quite important. One of the other things that I learned is having multiple pins for one blog. So for example, if you've written a blog or you've got a product, you can have more than one pin that shows that product. So if you've got a and just on this quickly too, which is a little bit off the target for this, and I'm just going to talk you through it, is one of the things that has happened recently is that you can schedule directly from canva.com if you've got the pro account. Now, Brie and I are both not huge fans of this, except when it comes to Pinterest, because Pinterest is a bit painful to schedule into at the best of times. And you can schedule directly from Pinterest into there with images that you've created. So you can load up all your images. You can sync it directly with your Dropbox of images. You can have a template, so you just drag and drop those images into them. And then you can go and in the content calendar, you can schedule those pins in. So one is dropping every day into your Pinterest thing without having to download and move across. You can just do it automatically. And I think for something that's a secondary social media thing, that will be used. It is actually amazing, Ingrid. It is so underused that we recommend using it. Yes, it's lower than Facebook and Insta, but it is also cheaper and more effective. So we say do Facebook and Insta perfectly. I would call Pinterest that next level tear down of doing, but the best thing with it is it really helps with search engine optimization, finding you in Google searches, which is why I'm promoting it now. So in terms of social, we'd definitely focus on the other two things, but we definitely would say that there is a huge market that's not being attracted with the Pinterest, and definitely having the information there. All right. Boy, this is a nice slide. She did well. All right. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is we're going to go back to Facebook and talk about dynamic Facebook ads. So what a dynamic ad is, and we're actually running a paid webinar on this. I have got a link for it to you in the next one. We build these out for people. We build Facebook funnels out for people that we've worked with on their strategies. The three things that we do at Identify is we do marketing strategies in the main. We do other things as well, like coaching and stuff, both Brie and I and Tracy, we do coaching. But in the main, we do marketing strategies, we do CRM, marketing automation, setup and training, and we also do dynamic Facebook ads setup and training. And the reason we do those three things, or Facebook ads setup and training, the reason we do those three things, as well as some coaching, is that those are the things that we know that we can do. We can teach you how to get people to your website or become more interested in you, and then we help you convert those people. We're focusing on that conversion thing. So that social that we teach you to do, it's why we give you so much information about that stuff, is we know that you need to do that before we even start to get to the nitty-gritty of all that conversion side. So we help you and upskill you in those areas and give you support. And sometimes we'll go, look, if you don't want to do it, use Brie or someone like Brie to do that. But we're helping you get people to that decision point. And once they've shown some sort of interest in you in some way, we then help you convert those people to a sale and create loyal customers. And one of the ways we can do this is with dynamic Facebook ads. Now, Facebook makes it really complicated because they use the word dynamic to discuss anything that changes every time you use it. So they'll often say in an ad thing when you're setting it up, would you like dynamic material? And it's a bit unfair because it makes it really confusing for you. But in this context, dynamic means, I call it the God behavior. And I'll give you an example. So some of you know how this works, especially if you work with us. But it's like this. You go to a website, you find something you love, you look at it, and then you go, oh, I don't think I should buy that. It's a bit expensive, or not today, or I've been distracted. And then you go back to Facebook, and seconds later, there is the product there. Who's had that experience before?
Mm-hmm.
It's God. No, it's not God. It's actually Facebook's tricky behavior, and it works very well because our brain, we have our lovely cerebellum at the lovely forebrain, our rational brain at the front, but our monkey brain, or our cerebellum at the back, which is all about instinct, says, oh, God, well, it's either Big Brother or God wants me to buy this. So I think I need to go back to that website. Now, the thing is that I only learned this, guys, last week. You know how over the weekend, I was looking for storage materials and for our pantry, because my daughter, last week when we were on lockdown, she rearranged the pantry, and she's a control freak. So I love her doing it. We paid her. She made like $300 last week doing odd jobs. She was just she was amazing. She got addicted. Now she's like trying to drum up things. I think she's messing stuff around the house just to try and like make more money. But she basically said, look, we need all this stuff. So we Googled I just Googled like pantry stuff, and I actually went to Kmart. Like I looked at Kmart first because I'm cheap. So I was like, I'm going to find some stuff at Kmart because knowing her, she'll change her mind, won't do it. I want to spend as little money as possible. We'll just get the stuff. So I went to Kmart, and then I went back on Facebook, and I was overwhelmed with all these other pantry storage idea ads from all these other businesses. Has anyone else had that experience where it's not just the website you've been to, but you get all those competitors?
Yeah.
So what that is it's called a broad match ad. And this is how Facebook is so clever. Is Facebook can do a thing, which is because it's syncing in with all your behavior because it's syncing in with all your behavior that you're doing online, because it's got that pixel information that got picked up from that Kmart website means I was interested in storage. And so if I was a competitor, I can run what's called a broad matched ad and say, I want to talk to anyone that's interested in pantry storage. And Facebook goes, Rachel's interested in pantry storage because she just searched for it on a website that's got a Facebook pixel on it. And so we're going to retarget these ads to them. That's called, I call that a cold dynamic Facebook ad, because it's going to people who've shown some interest, and it works really well. I have clicked through on quite a lot of those different ones because I've been interested in those things. And then so it means that even if you're a small business, you can actually take customers off the big businesses because they've all got Facebook pixels, and you can set it up to show your stuff, which again is why it's really important that your pictures and your copy is really tight, because people actually prefer often to buy from a smaller business than they do a bigger business. When it gets to when they've been to your website, a dynamic Facebook ad means that whatever you've seen on Facebook is what you will see when you go back. And depending on how much traffic you have, we can make this really granular and little. So for example, we've got a client that has huge volumes of traffic going onto her website. So over the weekend, we set up one ad that is just for people who've seen her ads in the last 24 hours, been to her website in the last 24 hours. So most people, we've got to do like the last 14 days and that last final one and have all these different things. But we can do things like we can have one ad for people that have viewed content on your website in the last 24 hours. Then we can have another one of people who've added to cart in the last 24 hours. Then one for people who've been there in the last 7 days but haven't been there in the last 24 hours. So we can keep on going back and back and back and back and back and build out a multi-layered funnel to help people choose you from different parts of the journey or depending on how they interact with you. And this is why I'm going to go back to the organic social media. If your organic social media is strong and you're driving people to your website, every time you do that, that little Facebook pixel clicks on them, and then you can choose the way you interact with those people. I worked with a guy who did this thing where the original price when you first got to the website was like $100. And then the next time you went, it was 95 because you got an ad saying 5% off. And then if you didn't buy within a week, he'd take it down to 90% and then 80, 85 and 80%. It was like a reducing thing. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that, but what he was doing was going, what's the price someone will just press buy now at? And at some point they would stop and buy. And he'd obviously had margin enough to be able to do that, but he was basically just using that behavior of going, how low do I have to go to get you to buy from me? Because I know you're interested because you're going to the website. So dynamic ads are very powerful and awesome. Facebook's really mucked up with how they do these now. So you're reducing a lot of options of how you actually run these yourself. Like often they'll just decide how it's presented. So we talk through this and work through. This is something that we do, but we also, because it's coming up to Q4, the way you sell in the last quarter, and by that I mean October, November, December, is completely different to the rest of the year. So the rest of the year, most small e-commerce businesses can get away with a few what we call traffic ads, which if you don't know what that means, we've got a free webinar coming out, which you get a link to afterwards, which has how to basically set up your basic Facebook and how to do those traffic ads. It's in there, and that's completely free. I just want you to learn how to do it. So that would just basically do it. But then you can go one next, which is driving that behavior by using that lizard brain to get people to buy. And yeah, Sanchi, I think, often I don't like that intrusiveness, but the reality is it works and it's really effective. And I'm amazed at how many businesses I go to who still don't have that Facebook pixel on the website. And it's so important for doing that retargeting. Because most people won't make a decision the first time they come to the website. So it is so important to do. So that's really powerful. The next thing that's really powerful is email marketing automation. And so a lot of you, who's emailing their customers and what are you using? And I'm going to assume a lot of you are on MailChimp. MailChimp. There we go. That was a good guess of mine.
Are you going to tell us off? Because I'm on MailChimp too. And now
you're going to be told off, Bree.
Uh-oh.
Okay, Klaviyo's good. I think, Linda, you were trying ActiveCampaign, but you obviously didn't find it fitted really well for you. So Klaviyo the issue with Klaviyo is that it doesn't integrate. If you change things in your catalog on Facebook, it can mess things up. So it's just around thinking around that. But what ActiveCampaign, and we normally recommend two. We recommend MailerLite and ActiveCampaign. So with our e-commerce clients, we normally recommend using ActiveCampaign because it has a direct sync with your with your website, and it can actually measure things like how many people have clicked. There is such depth to what it does. And Tracy, who's on here at the moment, who has an e-commerce store, she's actually one of our trainers. I think that it's about training, Lyndall. So we obviously, when we set it up, we train people on how to use it and make sure that they know exactly how to do it. So Tracy, actually, who's here today, she goes through that training because people are often amazed at what it can do. But I want to show you just briefly on here. Because often people are just tapping at the corner, especially if they don't get it set up right. They just tap on the corner of it, and it gets so frustrating. But I want to show you this because this is a very basic way that marketing automation works. And so obviously you can do something a little bit like this with MailChimp as well, but this is a really easy in terms of drag and drop. So today, after we finish this webinar, I'm going to download your names. There is actually a sync in with Webinar Ninja, which we use, but it doesn't always work. So I'm just going to do a double check and make sure I do this. And I'm going to add a tag to you guys called Improving E-commerce Webinar. And you are going to get this email, which is here. And you can see there's lots of little links in there to help you. And then I'm going to wait for 2 days, and then you're going to get another email. And then you can see that I am not organized because there should be a wait for 2 days and another email. You're going to get a bunch of emails from me. Now, they're not hard sell. They've all got little ideas and things that go through and just rework this. But nurture sequences and allowing people to work with people really easy. So often if you're not finding Active Campaign easy, it's normally because you haven't got the sync right. So if you've got an e-commerce or a WooCommerce or a Shopify, BigCommerce, WooCommerce or Shopify, it works super, super well. If you've got a custom build, it doesn't work so well. The other one that we would normally recommend, if you've got a tiny little business, is we'd also recommend potentially MailerLite, because that also does use marketing automation. And so we'd use that with a little business. But for those of you that are wanting this, we would recommend it. We had a client last 2 years ago that we set up on Active Campaign. Before we did that, they were just using Active Campaign just as people would use MailChimp. They had lists and they just sent stuff out like without segmentation and breaking things down. And he made $80,000 from, he had quite a big list. He made $80,000 from his emails just by sending out monthly emails. We went through and did the resegmentation and did the abandoned carts and the cross sales and the upsells and all those bits and pieces. And he stuck to keeping it segmented, because what a lot of people do is they don't do that, and they start going and sending out emails to everybody instead of sending them out to small segments. And his turnover went from 80,000 to 250K.
Wow.
Just on emails. That was just emails. We didn't even turn on the Facebook ads at that point. We did that a year later because he doesn't like to change. But we see this all the time with our clients. But email marketing automation is a waste of time, as is Facebook ads, if you don't have really strong organic social media and have a good functioning website. You can't jump to this, and that's what the mistake we've made. Like there's a couple we work with here where we've done that. So no, for product business, once monthly is not enough. We say it should be far more than that, but what we say is the most engaged people will get lots of emails and the least engagement will get less. So if people are going back to your website, they might be getting an email every couple of days or at least once a week. Other people might be getting them only once a fortnight or once a month, because it depends on their levels of engagement. So some clients of mine, even with us for service-based, some people get emails from us every second day and open nearly all of them, and other people might only get an email once a month, because it's all about how engaged they are and how interacting they are. And that's that power of marketing automation. But you need something that syncs. And this is the other thing that we've really learned, is that, again, it's about connections. So with Facebook ads, we can have someone who's doing really well on Facebook ads. You do an email, they do an email out. And when they do that email, not only do they get a big lift of people buying from their email, but for the next 7 days, they get more conversions on their Facebook ads as well, because they are connected. And this is the thing I need you to understand. It's not one action. Everything you do is connected. Yeah. It's so important. So it is really important to segment. So if you can't do that, it's really important to try and do that. So yes, the MailerLite is free if you've got less than 500 contacts. And I've got a client that uses it. We don't recommend it if you're going to get really serious about it, because there's limitations. You can't do the integration, the deep data integrations that you can do with ActiveCampaign. So, for example, I can't show you on a client's thing because that would be inappropriate, but we can see how much money people have made from every email. And if you click onto a client's account, you can actually see how many orders that person's made, what they've ordered, and then you can retarget them depending on how much money they've spent with you, what they've ordered, and those different things, which is really powerful and amazing. So it is a really amazing way to lift up and increase your conversions, but it won't work well until this has happened. So one of the things we've started doing now is we've been because we look at, if we set up your ads and your marketing automation, we set things up, and then we give it to you to train, and some of our clients have not got an uptake, and it's because they're not doing enough on their social media, and they're just sliding in and they're not doing it, and their websites aren't right. So we're going to get fussy now. Clients will only be allowed to have Facebook ads set up and marketing automation set up once they've shown us that they've done at least 6 weeks of really good social media activity, because otherwise we just can't trust that it's going to work. And that's really important, and it's really interesting. I made that decision, and then a colleague of mine who has a similar agency in Melbourne, she made that decision 6 months ago, and they're getting 3 or 4 times the results they were doing before, and it's because of that. Because the thing is that once you use an agency like us, quite often it's tempting that you go, well, you're doing the work, I can just take a step back, but actually you really need to take that step and do that other side, because otherwise it just doesn't work. Okay, the last thing around these things that we can talk about is Google Ads. So often this is the thing that people first come and talk to us about. We do Google Ads, we don't advertise it. And I say to you, look, if you don't have good organic social media, if you don't have an effective website with all that beautiful descriptions and great pictures, and you don't have Facebook ads and the Facebook pixel, and you don't have email marketing, I don't want you to do Google Ads, because it's such a waste of money if you don't have those things done first. Because Google Ads requires that someone, when they come and click on you, will buy from the first time. And we know that only a small percentage will buy from the first time. You guys tell me what that percentage is, because I've told you in the thing, and a test and see who was listening. Did you know that I used to work with people who 12?
What?
Under 5? Could you tell that I used to work with 5-year-olds, Bree, from that? It is 1 to what percent? 1 to 3%. That's right, Donna. That's exactly right. So we want to make sure that if you're going to add Google AdWords, you put that on last after you've done everything else, because otherwise it's just not going anywhere. If you don't have those other things done, you're not capturing all those other people that you need to capture. All right, so we're near the end here, and we've got a few things that we want to make sure you do. Tell me one thing, though, before we, because we'll open up to some questions. We've got 10 minutes or so for questions. Just a couple of things. We do have a webinar that's coming up. That's a free webinar. You get a link to it after this in the today's thing, which is for a free getting started with Facebook ads. So I'd really highly recommend. Some of you, I think, might have already enrolled with it. Highly recommend coming to that because it's completely free. We've got a paid webinar that is coming up with how to build that e-commerce funnel. But really, unless you've done the introductory one, you can't come on it. Basically, you will get lost. You need to have some working knowledge of how business manager. I'm not going to spend, it's hard to get through the material anyway. I'm not going to spend it going through stuff that you should know, like how to set up your business manager. So be aware you will need to have done that first. Because otherwise you're going to cry. And I also highly recommend that unless you've got BigCommerce, Shopify, or WooCommerce, or one of those ones, Wix is actually okay for this as well. Unless you've got one of the ones that has an easy integration with Facebook for catalogs, I'd also recommend you don't do it. So if you've got a custom build site, that will not be appropriate unless you've got money to pay for an API. And so that's $297. And if you get that, if you go to that one, you get to keep that one forever, so you can go through it. That's exactly how I learn as well. As I watch a webinar, I belong to an expensive training thing that teaches updates around social media and Facebook advertising, because it changes all the time. And they run a webinar. I watch the webinar, take notes, and then I walk through the webinar and walk it, and then do it, walk it, do it, walk it, do it. That's how I learn. That's how I'll teach you. The ones I watch are from America, and the stuff in America are not suitable for the New Zealand market. Here's a little tidbit. So I talked before about broad match ads. In New Zealand, a good broad match ad is somewhere around between 200 to 500,000 people would be a good broad match ad. In America, they call a broad match ad an audience of 15 million. So you can see that a lot of their behavior stuff that they teach you is very different to here. Plus, they would never get away with our little paltry $10 a day on Facebook ads budgets. Because over there, like it's basically like the one ad has to be at least $15, and that's for one ad, So like it's completely different. So we teach the New Zealand way. We ask, we offer also that we've got our free Facebook group. We've got a link to it. Some of you are already in there, but you can ask questions coming out of there today, and feel free to get people to give you some feedback on your website and just see what it's like. Obviously, don't all just jump in there and do it as a sales pitch. I will delete you if you do that. Make sure it doesn't sound too silly. Thank you very much. Come and learn our free school. So I've got a little link to you for that. You can come and do our toolbox. It's a free marketing strategy. So there's some there. And if you do want to work with us or you need some help, I've got a link in the email coming out to you for some free, some potentially 100% or 50% funded help if you're at that stage. But if you're at a beginner stage with your social first, be aware we will make you wait. You'll do a strategy with us, but then you'll need to wait before we do the marketing automation and the Facebook ads, because we do need to make sure that that is up to a level where we can get your return. Otherwise, we'll just get stressed that you can't get that. All right. Any questions, guys? Shop. I don't know the question answer of whether it's not available services, although what I would suggest you do is create a manual catalogue of those products, Tony, and do them. However, there are lots of reasons, because I've been doing this. Actually, I'll just grab I've got a book here somewhere with my the reasons that ads get disapproved. But it could be something as simple as having an ampersand, like the at thing, and your there's like I said, I can't find my thing now. I've got like a whole list of the reasons that people's ads get disapproved, and honestly, it is crazy what gets disapproved. It might be because you put a whole capital word in somewhere, or an ampersand, or there'll be something that has meant that you've broken a Facebook terms of service. It'd be more likely that. Any other questions? I'm just trying to find my list. I sent it to someone on the weekend because it was crazy how much was getting rejected of her thing. I'll send you the link. All the reasons Facebook rejects you for, there is a link somewhere, but the stuff that I got was actually from a marketer because it is so hard to read it. Literally, I've read the page of why people reject stuff so many times, and you can go through that and don't understand what it was. The ampersand thing wasn't even in there. So I would just say you honestly often half can't tell, but definitely having all caps in your description will definitely reject it. Having the ampersand, having any weird special characters in your title will definitely do it. Not having a proper description. There's so many different reasons. Yay, I'm pleased. Yeah, that will work pretty well for you, Deirdre.
Jane was wondering what funded services are available.
It's through the NZTA Regional Business Partner Association, Business Partner Network. There's a link to it in the email that's coming out to you this afternoon. So that might help you. But you need to be GST registered. But at the moment, it's quite fussy. Yes, Facebook is really fussy, Sarah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chrissy, that it's a good kick in the butt. I believe in you, Chrissy. I love your eye, and I love the product you do. And I just think we just need to push it through because you're awesome. Cool. Bree, do you have anything else? Yes, so she agrees that she's awesome. Bree, do you have anything to add before we sign off?
No, nothing in there. I answered some more questions about Instagram stories live today in the Map It Facebook group, so you can go and watch the replay if you want some more learning.
I'll put it in here too, just in case they can't wait for the thing. I'll just put the link in so people can join if they want.
Yeah.
So Bree and I are really committed to adding free value, and Tracy, who's in here too, who's very quiet, who'll also pop up when I make a do video. We're really into making sure you get value and support. So Bree has Mondays, and she will always do something around social in there. Tracy is going to have a day. She doesn't know this yet, but she'll know very soon. Well, like in the next few seconds. She'll have a time to talk about marketing automation and emailing. And so, there's lots of ways you can do it, Deidre. You could have it like focused on, like you could show a shot of the place and just talk. So it could be you talking, but you could be showing around one of the homes and talk through it, or, as long as your voice is on there, maybe a hand or something like that, that would be good. It is good to get used to having your own face, though. A face will convert far more than any other body part.
Yeah, and I do
not any other body part, but ones that will get approved.
I did talk about that mindset shift today, about getting our face on camera too, and on that Facebook Live. So I do recommend watching it.
Okay, and Tracy Smith, who is on here and who went ha ha ha. There we go. See, Tony, it was all sorted. Like, how good is that? So you're not a tool. Seriously, we all feel like tools when we started out, don't we, Bree?
Totally. I remember starting Facebook or Instagram stories and just being like, what am I going to post? Nobody's going
to care. Around the filter stories, like, seriously, I show it normally, but it's in the other room. $39 and Mighty Ape. I bought like a little ring light thing that I clip my phone onto. Makes me look younger. Awesome. We're going to go now, guys, and we'll see you soon. MLM free zone, it means multi-level marketing. Thanks for checking.
Bye.
Bye, guys.